Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. He does everything. He wants to do. He wants to do. He wants to love it all night. All night. Oh, every night.
Fucking metal!
Yeah!
Oh, way to go, Neil Sean.
Nice.
That's great, man.
Another IoT train wreck brought to you by IoTCoffeeTalk.com, baby.
Yeah, we put the train wreck in IoT.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Anthony, you sure you don't want to just like jump off and save yourself from a major embarrassment?
Save yourselves.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose any more hair over this. So.
Oh my God. Dude, you're a natural.
Anthony's actually been on IoT Coffee Talk for a decade, and this is what happened. So be careful.
Be warned.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about helium. Actually, we have two very, very special guests. And what's that?
We should introduce themselves to our audience of tens of people.
Yeah, dozens of people. So, hey guys, just really quickly, this isn't like a formal panel or anything, so don't get nervous and weird. Just go ahead and introduce yourselves really quickly, and let's get rocking and rolling.
Well, some of us are weird to start off with, so it's not really an avoidance issue. I don't believe, at least personally here.
Oh, cool.
I'll kick it off here. My name's Travis. I'm developer growth lead over at Helium Systems. I go by Teague over on our Discord, and I'm spending a lot of time online. A lot of you folks may know me either there or I've also appeared on the Belena.io podcast with Marc before. So
awesome.
I'm here to field any questions about Helium Systems. So
okay, cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Tony.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks for having me on today. My name's Anthony Veri, and I hide behind smart cities, smart buildings, and IoT, and get everything that people are using, getting it to work properly, and making sure the availability is there. So I deal with a wide range of technologies, frequencies, and protocols. So glad to be on.
Yeah, and if you don't know Anthony, you should know him because he knows a lot of stuff. He's great. He's a wonderful resource of whatever, dude. A lot of cool IoT stuff.
For a whole bunch of whatever, dude.
Yeah, whatever. If you want whatever, dude, just
awesome. That's great. He's a great resource for like finding a restaurant in Kansas City. I don't even know what you're talking about. Whatever. So you know what? I'm ready. I think our audience is ready to hear the whole helium story, because I remember one of your old CEOs. I was friends with Rob a long time ago, and I know helium's been a lot of different heliums over the years. And so maybe bring our audience up to date, maybe the story and where you're at now.
Yeah, what the hell are you guys, anyways?
Where the hell are we? Pardon, I've got some people doing lawn work outside here, but helium has been through a number of pivots, and the most recent one I would say is the move over to LoRaWAN, and this is still a combination of the blockchain and LoRaWAN, which we call LongFi, right? And this is the incentive. Basically, we give incentives for people to build the network. And I was heavily involved in to give a little background on myself. I was heavily involved in TTN. Prior to my move to Helium, I ran my own company, which I shuttered. I had done, quite a bit of government work using LoRaWAN technologies, and I shuttered that to move over to Helium once they adopted LoRaWAN, and once we, kind of started talking about this. Because I saw the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. I mean, what's happening? If you look at TTN, and if you go to the Greater Houston, if you go to the TTN community site and look up Houston, Texas, I'm listed as facilitator, which is a role that I just made up.
Oh, cool.
I effectively, I was, and you'll see some posts there where I was just trying to give gateways away. I'm like, look, have antenna, we'll travel, and I couldn't get people to bite, And so if you look at the TTN deployment, it was Travis's house in Houston and Houston's the fourth largest city in the US. So just wasn't really able to get a toehold in the States. And then Helium, their adoption of LoRaWAN, and the strategy to incentivize the building of the network. I mean, the numbers don't lie. It's what 150,000 hotspots right now in the past 18 months. That's insane. Yeah, basically my role over here at Helium as developer growth lead is I want to get people building on this network that everyone has now built out. And I want to get use cases, and we've I don't have one right next to me, but I worked with Rack Wireless to build up a WizBlock based development kit that allows you a very modular, very easy method. There we go. Boom. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, man. To actually get a solution up supporting a lot of industrial protocols like 4 to 20 milliamps, like 0 to 5 volts, Modbus, et cetera. So you can interface with PLC, SCADA systems, a lot of existing, industrial setups without having to completely retool. And, I think we have a really good methodology there and a really good workflow to get people, especially even new developers, up and working on the system using, you could use Arduino, but I recommend like VS Code and Platformio.
So yeah, I am curious because I know that you guys have seen some form of success, and just full disclosure, I've been covering in this blockchain thing for a really long time. Okay, ever since IBM started getting interested in it, so I've seen a lot of companies. Most of them have basically dumpster dived into nothingness, they've seen some form of early success based on some dubious metrics. The thing that I'm really curious about is, you mentioned you're incentivizing people to build a network. How are you incentivizing them? What is the value, the sustainable value that they can expect that will motivate them, number one, to make that initial investment? Because I know that you guys sell these miners, as well as you have these validators that also need to invest capital into equipment. How are they going to be generating that ROI, and what are some of the incentives that you see, or the motivations you see for people to participate in this network?
It's a very good question. I can't really speculate as far as ROI is concerned.
Yeah. By the way, really quickly, congratulations for hitting those numbers. It's cool, exciting. The tricky part is actually keeping those numbers relevant, right?
Sure. Okay. I can't comment on that. And as far as keeping those relevant is, we're going to, and we have all of this up on our website. The transmission of data is going to, take on a larger role and a larger percentage of H&T payouts rather than just a proof of coverage going forward. And so, as we move forward, people who have, invested time and money into building out the network infrastructure will, have a vested interest in use cases on the network. And so, the transit of data, using data credits, which is fixed, DCs or data credits are fixed to a US dollar or fixed to a fiat. right? And so it's not speculative like HNT is, but you can burn HNT to create data credits, right?
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what you mean by proof of coverage. How does that work? And how is that different from what form of proof of work is that?
Okay, proof of coverage, and what's interesting here is you don't want someone putting 100 hotspots down in their basement, because that doesn't actually build out the network. That doesn't provide any value to the Helium network, right? And so what proof of coverage does is, using RF, it actually can validate that you are where you say you are, and you are providing the coverage that you're claiming to provide, and by by that proof, you were rewarded with HNT. And so I can't just pile these up in my basement, claiming to be providing all this coverage all over the place and getting paid out. We have a lot of algorithms in place that that allow us to avoid that.
So is it just proof of coverage, or is it proof of, because it seems like the way that people are going to be making money is if they're sharing their network and there's some form of roaming, right?
Okay.
Because what doesn't make sense to me is that you're making money off of hosting a node in the network for yourself. Why would you pay yourself to, you know what I'm saying? So the way I understand it is that the what gets incented is the sharing and roaming. And correct me if I'm wrong. You're assuming that people want to become some form of neutral host for the LoRa network, right? Or am I completely off? And Anthony, you chime in in terms, because I think some of you, I don't want to expose you guys, but I will. You guys bought a couple of friggin' things, so maybe you guys can speak to and maybe help Travis understand why the hell you guys are so excited about this thing.
So they're using LoRa, the protocol, in the 900 megahertz frequency here in the U.S. And they're building out a Helium LoRaWAN network. And so the value is not having just one node, but to be able to communicate with other nodes, other witnesses. And that's where more value comes in, because you're creating that mesh network of LoRa technology in a given footprint. So if you had one Helium hotspot miner and there was nobody within 30 miles of you, there's no value there. You're not going to really make much, and there's no real benefit there. But if you have others within proximity, it adds to the value of having that network expand coverage and so forth. So there's a lot that we could talk about the network design, the placement of the radios and antennas, the cables, the type of LMR cable to use, the type of DBI gain on the antennas, because that benefits the radio network that people are building out.
Yeah. Marc, you want to help Travis out here, man? Use cases. Travis, we're all friendly here, man. We're all trying to.
We're good. We're good.
These guys are your serious buddies, because they're into your Helium thing. So
no. I think it's very exciting what we're doing here.
I think it's really a cool concept too.
One small thing, rather than using the term mesh, I'd rather like star on star topology. But you can use meshed, protocols with protocol bridging, with LoRaWAN systems. But yeah, absolutely. As far as lone wolves, which I've been a lone wolf over here for, most of the time. I just recently got someone else to talk to me around here. So yes, there are different methods to make H&T on the Helium network, and one is proof of coverage. One is actually transmitting data packets across the network. But you did mention roaming. And that's something I would like to bring up here, because there are a number of private networks, both in the U.S. and overseas, that that run LoRaWAN that can be transited, over the Helium network. So.
Oh, okay. What do you mean by transited?
Okay. If you look at LoRa on the physical layer, which is patented, right?
Yeah.
Which was purchased by Symtec.
Yeah.
And you have a physical layer, and then LoRaWAN is a messaging protocol that effectively lives on top of the LoRa layer, which gives you encryption, which gives you a lot of the functionality that TTN, that Helium, that other networks use, right? And so if I want to listen just with a radio, if I have a software-defined radio, and I just want to listen to what's going on, I can hear all the metadata coming through on these chirp packets. In the US 915, or 868 or 433, but I can see all this metadata coming through, but the actual payload is going to be, AES, 192 encrypted, right? And so if I don't have keys, then I don't get the payload. I just get I get radio metadata about that. And I can just listen to that. That's over the air. That's something that, okay.
Oh, all right. Well, in simple terms, it seems like you're saying that people can basically piggyback on other people's networks securely.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look at Paul or Disk91, Disk91.com, he has an incredibly well-written article about actually running a private network on top of Helium.
Right.
And this is kind of a big deal because in the EU, there's kind of an issue about companies, having data going overseas.
Yeah.
And so I would heavily recommend checking that out if you have a chance.
Yeah, I think China has that problem too. Maybe just a little.
So I apologize if I missed it. So how do you prove coverage? This proof of coverage thing?
Well, almost everything we have is completely open source on GitHub. In our repos, our console is open source. Our router is open source. If you want to go pick around, and
application as well, right? The wallet.
The CLI wallet, the mobile application. Pretty much everything is open source. And so, and we would love it if you want to go, dig around and, throw some PRs in there, we love it when the community, helps out, with these projects, but, so, we're not hiding anything here.
We don't expect that you are. We're not. We don't even suggest. We just want to understand where you, number one, because you mentioned you guys have pivoted a number of times, and you're on LoRa now. It looks like you guys are going into it says 5G, but you say CBRS, which is it's interesting.
Correct.
But
Freedom Fi. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has. There's also some questions that get raised there in terms of what the let's call it the economic basket is for what you guys are bringing to the table. Again, my assumption, and Marc, if you want to If you want to refute it or tell me that I'm wrong, because I am, quite frankly, the dumbest person in the room at the moment, okay, on this shit.
Let me try to answer Rob, maybe, and you correct me, Travis, if that's okay. But as far as I understand, every 6 or 12 hours, a hotspot is selected. Well, yeah, for each hotspot is selected. And then it selects another hotspot randomly that makes this proof of coverage, who sends a LoRa message around the region where it's the hotspot. Then the ones that the hotspots that see these messages, they make witness. Okay, and for everyone that makes witness, the originator, of this LoRa message makes beacons, and this is how you prove coverage, right? So you have this random selected hotspot that makes this radio message, and another hotspot's witness.
That's the gist of things, and absolutely. And this is going to be a remote request, right? Yeah. And so I could be in Lisbon, and I request someone in a hotspot in Houston to I want to know what it is able to talk to over RF, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's an IP request, for an RF request, effectively. And if you go over to explorer.helium.com, you can dig through the blockchain. I mean, everything's open, and you can dig through exactly what's going on. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah.
So you guys are doing this on a regular basis for all the nodes in the network. Is that how it's been, or?
All day, every day, man. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not sleeping, actually.
So proving that you actually have coverage is part of how you get paid for hosting this thing, to make sure that you're not putting it in the basement, like you were saying earlier.
That's how you earn H&T, off of the blockchain. Is what one part of it is through proof of coverage, or POC. Yes, correct.
Right. Okay. And then you guys also separately have you have the endpoints, the end users that are purchasing connectivity, right? I saw that you have like a calculator. There's
data credits.
Yeah. And so those are the folks who are actually funding the whole H&T economy, right?
No.
As well as the validators, because the validators have to pony up some money to become validators, right? It's like 10,000 H&T, right?
10,000 H&T, but that is just staked, okay?
Yeah,
and so that's something.
You didn't lose the money, the tokens.
Yeah, you get these back. There is a 5-month cooldown period.
So it's like a loan. They're making a loan to the ecosystem. They're like seeding capital into it. Is that?
They're staking. They're staking something onto the network. Okay. And so you have
loan. I understand. Staking, I don't know. Staking, as far as I'm concerned, could be a piece of Kobe beef that's being fried on a teppanyaki grill.
No, what it is
what I'm saying?
Staking is when we go to Houston, we go to Papa's Brothers. That's what staking is.
Yeah. No. It's just like I said. I'm ignorant, so I just want to know in simple terms
what it is
that you guys are doing.
Leonard,
I don't know.
You got to understand. You got to understand that there are certain fiat terms that I can't really discuss. I can talk about H&T, and I can talk about mining and earning H&T and cryptocurrency, but there's.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't have questions. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
No, because going back to what I was saying, the thing is sustainability requires that you have a sustainable value proposition to all participants. So that's what I'm trying to get a feel of. Like I said, I've seen so many of these companies, right? I've advised some, told them to do certain types of pivot, they didn't do it, and then they disappeared. This discussion, the way I look at it, can be helpful, maybe, but for us, definitely informative, and our audience informative, because, man, you guys are like everywhere right now. right?
Well,
Everyone's
yeah.
talking about you guys and saying that you guys are going to just. They're saying that all the operators need to freak out about you guys. So
well, they should be freaking out about us. They should be scared, honestly. But I mean, if you look at just the validators that you were talking about, there's 26.25 million HNT that's staked, and that means that this HNT is locked up. And with the 5-month cooldown, and so that's, in fiat you can do the conversion. I mean, I guess we're at what. I don't know. I mean, you can look up HTTP right now, but it's quite a bit that is locked into the blockchain right now through the validators, and that's about 28% of the supply that's staked through validators right now.
So when you say the operators, the carriers should be worried about you guys, are you like the barbarians at the gate?
No, not at all. I mean,
we're the barbarians. We have the beards.
No,
mine sucks.
No. This is the People's Network. We can all be barbarians here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think TTN is clearly the People's Network, but it's hard to monetize, maybe.
well, but I mean, you have TTN and you have TTI, right? And I've got mad respect for everyone over there, and I've spent a ton of time working, on the Things Network, and that's what really got me into LoRaWAN, in the first place. It's just we didn't get any traction in the States, man. I mean, you look at the maps, you look at the deployments, and I literally couldn't give gateways away.
Yeah.
And
wow.
No, that's a good point.
Sigfox, right? Yeah,
Sigfox never got traction in the US either.
But even in Europe, they have few millions of nodes connected to. So I love low power weight area networks, but the traction has been really hard. Well, and we need to see the traction as well as a customer point of view on the Helium network, right? So we need to see if real customers use the network. We have seen that the deployment works as a charm, but then the other thing, it's a chicken problem, right? I remember with the Sigfox, I was trying to deploy projects where there were no coverage, and then they were installing base stations, etc. Now, the good thing is that in a lot of places there is coverage with Helium. Now it's I'm looking forward to see more and more projects. I don't know, Anthony, if you have seen any projects or any traction on these on smart cities or
Sigfox here in the U.S. has been dismal at best, and I've worked on private LoRaWAN and a few public LoRaWAN networks here and there. Obviously, we know a lot about what EveryNet's trying to do here in the U.S. with Crown Castle, Senate, the largest North American LoRaWAN network operator. But I think Helium is very interesting because for the people who don't know, who may be listening in right now, if you try to go buy a Helium hotspot miner, good luck. I mean, I've been on pre-order for a few months, and I won't see anything probably until like April of 2022. But what's interesting is, like Travis said, there are so many gateways out there right now. LoRaWAN gateways, Helium LoRaWAN gateways. And if you try to buy one on eBay, you're going to be paying almost 10 times the MSRP cost of these miners. So my question to Travis is, this is great that you have so much momentum right now, and you're using the LoRaWAN network in the build out. You're having people build out your network, and it has the value add of compensating people for data mining and the crypto mining. So above and beyond that, what's the long play for longevity? Is it the building of more apps on the network for, like you said, maybe industrial and PLCs and stuff like that?
No, that's a great question, and I think that's going to be huge. I think like IoT, industrial use cases is absolutely going to be huge. I think that as the data credits, increase, the percentage of what pays out the H&T on the network, people who initially came in from the crypto or the investment side rather than the IoT side are going to see the the value of use cases on the network. And if you go over to helium.com/ecosystem, you can see a number of use cases. There's also, if you go to docs.helium.com, we ran a project called IoT for Good over on hackster.io, last year. So, man. All of those projects are open source on GitHub, and some incredible use cases on the Helium network. And so, usage of the network is priority one. Huh?
Right, but what kind of industrial applications are you imagining here? Because I'm glad you guys are touching on use cases, because honestly, as I was listening to you guys, it's like build the network and the use cases will come. Well, if you don't have a hypothesis on the use cases, then there's no hypothesis on value. Because the way this is what I'm hearing, and I can appreciate it. It is cool. It sounds really cool. So the staking, what you guys are doing is basically getting people to fund the capital, as well as the back office, okay, which is the validation stuff and the crypto stuff, as well as the operations, because I assume you're gonna the whole idea of this is that there's gonna be some sort of automated brokering that happens. But the big gap right now is what do you think the end use cases are? And if you're looking at I think there's only certain types of industrial applications you can look at, and you probably can't mix and mingle too much. Otherwise, you're going to make the Helium network too expensive for certain applications. So, what is it that you guys are imagining in terms of who's going to use this thing, and how are they going to use it to extract what kind of connectivity value?
Okay. There's a lot of questions that you just threw
I know.
out right there. I will try to address them. What do you mean making it too expensive, though? I am a little.
Well, I mean, if
I gotta go.
When you look at, you have to go.
Yeah, I gotta go do real stuff, man. I'm gonna go out on a farm and make shit real. Okay. So
yeah,
all you guys do
smart agriculture. There you go, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out there, make it real. I'm touching plants in soil and getting data and making decisions. So we're getting out of the lab and getting out of talk, and we're gonna make it real. So love you guys. This was great. Thanks so much. Oh, love that. Travis, shout out to you. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, man.
I grew up in Houston. I grew up in Houston, so I'm total H-Town fan, bro.
Excellent.
Good connecting with you.
Excellent.
Good seeing you, Anthony. Good chat with you on Clubhouse last night. We will talk at you later.
All right. Take care, Rob.
Bye.
Thanks a lot for your time, man. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay. No. What I'm saying. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
He had a good point about smart agriculture. I think LoRaWAN is just a very, very appropriate technology for smart ag. And when you talk about becoming too expensive, I don't really understand this, because the
pricing,
the way this works.
Okay. Yeah. Let me explain to you. So I'm glad. Hey, Dave. He's actually the perfect person. Actually, Anthony can probably answer this too. So when the pricing and economics of a lot of industrial applications, and so what I mean by it is manufacturing. So critical networks that require high bandwidth. The cost there and economics is different from, let's say, out in what do you call it? In a field somewhere, like where Rob is going. So, and that's one of the reasons why networks are pretty heterogeneous, right? There's different economics associated with different types of networks, protocols, and technologies. So that's why I'm asking the question: is helium most appropriate at the moment with for these types of scenarios like smart agriculture, or what else are you guys looking at? And maybe you can explain what you guys are expecting out of like the whole CBRS thing, quote unquote 5G.
Well, even Travis, let me add to this. Even before we look at CBRS, when we're using LoRaWAN, this is all low power, low data bandwidth, and those use cases are there. There's not as many, but there's some in industrial, there's some in construction, there's some in agriculture. And so if you're looking at low data bandwidth and you're looking for something low power, could go long range, that's where LoRa, Sigfox, Weightless, YSUN, that's where these protocols play in the sub 1 gigahertz range. The unique aspect of it that helium has right now, besides all the momentum and the people that are buying the hotspots, is that they get rewarded with HNT. And guess what? Sigfox, they had to pay for construction costs of the gateways and the towers that they were mounting them on. They had to pay leasing in some areas where they didn't own the vertical assets. And guess what? There was no crypto mining. There was no money coming in. And so if nobody's using Sigfox and they built it and they used the Field of Dreams business model and hope that people would come, that's why they had a lot of hard times here in the U.S.
And they pivoted too. Sigfox pivoted to allow people to actually run their own gateways.
Yeah, they had to pivot.
Yeah. So
the mini base station. But the business model of Sigfox was a bit different. They sell the base station, and every country manager or company that manages the country take care of install it. So they have to pay for the base stations, and then they have to pay to rent the tower to install it. So it's a bit different. I can imagine that if Sigfox would have been offering tokens to the country companies, they would have been more happy than now.
Well, and they initially didn't allow you to go over 140 messages. They would do a hard cutoff. They wouldn't allow you to flex that at all. And so for hazmat situations, or a lot of the use cases that really make sense with like sub-G technologies, if you couldn't flex on that, you'd get a hard cutoff, and they pivoted there.
I never got a cutoff, but I don't know if in Europe or in the US, the regulations are different. But they were very strict with the regulations. I think as a private company using the network, I think they were one of the first, doing this in a big. And
I will say that helium systems has gotten a lot of interest from people who were, up to this point, very involved in Sigfox. So,
well, look at the other advantage helium has over some other LP WANs. Who's paying for the backhaul of the helium network? Not helium. They're customers that are paying for the gateways. They use their own internet connectivity, and the data backhauls through their ISPs. I mean, I think that is genius. So they have done a lot of strategic things in their business model that I think that they haven't done in years past. And I think that's why you see so much momentum right now behind helium.
Sure. No, I get it. The thing is, it seems like a lot of folks, and this is just based on what I'm hearing, are going in, building their little field of dreams at the moment, right? I think the jury is still out as to whether or not this is sustainable from an economic standpoint for the ecosystem. So, I think that's something that none of you guys can tell me is going to happen or isn't going to happen. That's just
David didn't bring the crystal ball.
That's truthful. No, David brought the void. He's in the void like John Oliver. At least maybe last week was the last week John Oliver is going to be in the void, but Man, that is like some plain background that you got there, buddy. I mean, you could have done what Travis is doing and make yourself
in boxes, man. I'm living out of a box.
See what I did? I cleaned my workbench off once, and then I just screenshot it. So I never.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Genius.
I am going to steal that.
If you saw my workbench right now, it's.
Hopefully, the community sends me some suggestions for not safe for work backgrounds, and I can just have a coffee talk.
This is proof of work, right?
Proof of work. Virtual work.
Yeah.
I do have a comment for you here, Leonard. Though, as far as you say, building your own field of dreams. The thing about the Helium network is, I can run a sensor. Like if I want to buy something like this, this is a seed SenseCap light sensor, right?
Yeah.
If I'm in an area. Like most urban areas in the States, a lot throughout EU, I don't need to run my own gateway. I don't have to build my own field of dreams. I could just onboard this directly with the Helium console, and it works. And I can throw all my data through to AWS IoT Core. Yeah, nice, man. But I don't necessarily have to be building out the actual infrastructure myself if I'm in an area that's covered. So I understand that. Okay.
Yeah, that much I got. The rest of it I'm ignorant on. So, David, I'm like the most ignorant person on the panel.
Don't take
more ignorant than you. No,
but look, I came in late because anyway I couldn't avoid it. So I'm
still the most ignorant person.
Chilling in the background.
We may have to have a contest here. We may have to have a contest here.
But to Anthony's point of using this network, using other people's backhaul. I mean, you're eliminating a lot of the costs of delivering connectivity to certain areas. I'm still reading. I have your white paper bookmarked, but that's for beer o'clock. I cannot do that before 5 o'clock. But I guess not coming from a place where, again, I know very little about the network, but I think I understand the way you're basically compensating the, I don't know, do you call them users? Like if I buy, if I put out a gateway to be part of the network and I get HMTs, am I a user, a contributor? How do you?
You're a network builder, a network builder. Yeah.
Wow, I like that. But the thing, I take offense because I actually know what it takes to build a network. And throwing something on an Ethernet cable here, it's not the same, man. It's not the same, okay? But offenses aside, how when it comes down to coverage, Travis, and the example that you said, you have a light sensor and you can just throw it on the console and it works. Just correct this statement. It will still be dependent on having a network builder that has put a node backhaul through his or her ISP in the area that the sensor were. That remains the same, yes? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And because, let me respond here. Because this is a decentralized network, you can't really give the same, quality, assurance because this isn't Helium. This is the people's network. I mean, this is everyone building this out. And so you don't necessarily, it doesn't make sense to say, okay, I can give you a quality of service agreement, as a user on the network because it's distributed. I mean, it's best effort. It's best effort. Like I put it out there and you get what you get. And there's no SLAs, there's no quality of service. There's but when you get to a certain level of saturation, I mean, you've got coverage. You look at New York City. I mean, just for example, you bring up the coverage map of New York City, and it's so saturated that you almost don't want to put anything else there. You have coverage there. You have pretty much what I would consider guaranteed coverage in New York City.
And what's also unique about LoRaWAN and with Helium, you don't have applications that are low latency and that are running every split second. So you could get things that only report data every couple minutes, every 15 minutes and whatnot. So it's not like you're building out a 5G standalone mobile network. And the one question I have for Travis is I know previously there was like maybe a 5 million cap on helium credits that were given out. Is that still there? Because as more and more miners and gateways get deployed, that's the only thing I could maybe see slowing momentum down, is that as more gateways are deployed, there's less credits to be dispersed. And that's what's attracting people, is to earn the H&T credits.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, there's the number of credits, but then also the price, right, of each credit or H&T.
Yeah, H&T can fluctuate and go up and down. So
so why do you care how many you have if the investments that are being made into it are expressed in a higher price per H&T?
Well, because so many miners are coming on. I mean, if you look at the pre-orders and how much it's back ordered, if that price doesn't rise, then the value actually decreases as more come on.
I think
that's why I was curious. I didn't know if it was if it's still locked at 5 million or if that's going to change. That's all I was asking.
Yeah, but can I say something really quick before I forget it, because I'm old and I'm very forgetful? Is the backhaul, you guys talk about it like you can discount it. You can't discount it. It's part of the cost structure of the whole thing. So I just want to put that out there, unless you guys tell me, well, someone has to pay for it. Who's going to be operating this thing? So I don't buy this whole notion that the cost of backhaul doesn't factor in and somehow it's free to somebody. No, it impacts the economic viability of the whole system. So
it sounds like it's free to Travis because David the builder is buying it.
But I don't care. I want to know
power as well.
Yeah,
you have to pay power.
Yeah,
I mean, how does that?
This is why you need to figure out. So that's all the cost stuff, right? In order for there to be a return, hence an incentive. Where? How are you guys doing the creating the top line for everyone? That's the thing, right? I mean, the incentive is profit and profit share. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So we can't discount backhaul. It doesn't come for free. Somebody has to pay for it, and it gets factored into the service.
But that's as well a philosophical question, like a more a beer o'clock question, because that's as well a lot of philosophy. It's like, if you want to belong to a community, to create a network, and you want the tokens for 10 years because you don't care about that and you just want to provide network, maybe answer from some people, or answer from the people from TTN, it's that they don't care about the price of the power of the internet, for example.
Exactly.
They want to provide an open network. So
the miners and Bitcoin miners do. That's the most expensive thing.
Yeah, but I mean, no, Marc, you said it perfectly right there, because being a member of the TTN community, we paid for all of this. We weren't expecting to get paid by our miners. There were no miners. We were paying for all the gateway. And, taking that out of pocket, just to deploy, just so we could get IoT coverage, and so that's really, the difference here with Helium. When I talk about two different, factions, you have the crypto and investment people, and you have the IoT people. And there are, very commonalities here when we talk about data credit usage and data transfer, which is going to bring these communities together, right? But yeah, in the TTN days, I mean, we paid for everything. We weren't expecting to make money, except through our IoT solutions that we were building out, on the network. So.
And Travis, the H&T, so the token itself that I, as a network builder, could use. It sounds like I'm like reading as you guys are talking. So if I put out a gateway, but I'm not doing any stuff with sensors, I basically get the tokens, I don't have to worry about data credits because I'm not using anything. But long term, if I accumulate 1 to X HNTs, like what do I do with this? Is it another cryptocurrency with a market value and one day I can sell it?
You can go to an exchange of cryptocurrencies and exchange it by dollar or euro or whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Or bitcoins if you want.
Or silver credits.
One thing that
asking for a friend.
Now, one thing that I think it's interesting as well is if you're a company, like let's imagine McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
And you want to, I don't know, do cold chain monitoring on all your restaurants. No, you can put a hotspot in every restaurant, and then the sensors. So McDonald's will need to buy data credits. So this traffic will go through the hotspots on McDonald's. So are they gonna? So is it gonna be free for them?
It's a zero-sum game.
They don't make witness or anything else. It's
a zero-sum game. If these are my sensors and they're running through my hotspots, then I get paid what I'm paying out, right? And so it's zero-sum there. But
so
I
it's
also
not 30% of the helium.
No. Zero-sum. But anyone else who's going through my hotspots, I get payment from that data traffic.
Yeah. It's shared or roaming or both. Well, actually, it's both. If it's roaming, it has to be shared.
Well, think about it this way. Like McDonald's actually has a deal with AT&T, right? As does Starbucks, where they do Wi-Fi routing for voice traffic on cell phones, right? And so. And out of the box, if I buy a new Samsung phone, right? Or that's not a Samsung, but I buy a new Samsung mobile phone, and by default, if I'm on the AT&T network, then if I'm next to if I'm next to a McDonald's, it's going to route my voice traffic over Wi-Fi network that McDonald's owns. And it's transparent to me, right?
And Travis, if folks from McDonald's were, having a breakfast combo with the coffee over there and listening to this, why would one of their IT folks say, in consider it? Because they're an enterprise, right? They're a global company with a gazillion locations,
sure,
some corporate owned, some franchise, whatever. What's the conversation from an IT security and privacy perspective of that, your gateway? Because, it is a physical device. So just curious, because you brought up McDonald's.
Okay.
I did, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Marc did.
What you're talking about, what type of devices you're asking about?
What will be the security conversation? So they have a managed WAN global, by some, you mentioned a couple of providers. I'll skip the names. It doesn't matter. But are there any? Have you guys written about enterprise grade security so that a company like a McDonald's can take your gateway and basically being part of the network?
Well, we don't actually. Helium doesn't make gateways. Anymore. We're not a hardware provider. We have there's like 50 different manufacturers that go through something we call HIP 19, which is a proposal that is community driven by the Distributed Wireless Alliance that that allows these manufacturers to securely build gateways, hotspots on that work on this network, right? Helium no longer makes hardware.
And so is there a Helium client on these gateways, or the gateways just give you access because Helium is on a cloud?
Go to our GitHub. I mean, seriously, pretty much. I mean, no, we have Gateway RS where you can run like light hotspots. Our console is open source. Our router is open source. It's pretty much anything you want to deal with on the Helium network is open source. But regarding security, I wanted to touch on this. We do have an open bounty program through HackerOne. So, if we have bounties that are open. You want to hack the network? If you can, we want to know. We're very security conscious here. And so, I mean, we want this to be the most secure network out there. And so, yeah, we absolutely pay bounties for that. And
something as well very interesting about helium that I learned with this 91 that you mentioned before is that, McDonald's in this case, this example that I set up, they can create their own IoT backend. So the data doesn't go to helium backend like Sigfox or TPM. Right. The data goes there. You can create your own McDonald's backend. You pay, I don't know if it's like
$800. Okay. $800 US dollars. That gives you a block of, and an OUI is what we call it.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So McDonald's so the data would go through the hotspots, but then the blockchain will tell, okay, this sensor has to go to this OUI. And then automatically it redirects the data. So it forwards or relays, I don't know the verb, the data to McDonald's backend without going through anything else, if I'm not wrong.
And so think about this. In a lot of countries that have, very, very strict policies on information transit, you could have a complete end-to-end secure network with effectively a throwaway device.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, right. Perfect, man. Love it.
Wow. Hey, you know what? We're reaching the hour mark. Can you believe it?
Oh yeah.
And I'm out of coffee. So we got to wrap this up. And we didn't even hit on the 5G stuff or the CBRS stuff. I mean, we could go on for probably another 5 hours on this, but man, first off, Travis, dude, you're a champ. I think this is one of the best IoT coffee talks we've had, and probably the most. I'll have to be honest. I'll probably listen back on this episode and go, this was the best helium podcast ever. And you're a rocker, dude. I personally love it. And thank you so much for coming on, bro. Seriously.
I've been running a helium podcast for a year and a half too. So you're kind of
well. This one's better than yours. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Don't mess with us. Thanks so much
for having me on.
Dude. Thank you so much for coming. And Marc, thanks for suggesting to bring him on. Anthony, finally, I just want to rub your head like that.
That's a clean shave. That man shaved before.
Yeah. He outdid you. You got quite a dome there. Yeah.
No, I've got some scruff.
Oh yeah.
It helps refract LoRaWAN radio.
He doesn't have to wear that little tinfoil hat. He's protected from any alien mind meld. But no, thank you so much. And hey, you know what, Marc? I realized something. We have a global audience. And I think that, there's a lot of people in the world that speak Spanish. So and there's also a lot of makers in Barcelona, right? Why don't you take us out in Spanish, brother? And if you have trouble, he speaks Spanish too. David, come on, man.
Hablar como quieras.
I don't know what that meant. I just know yo quiero Taco Bell. That's it. But. Come on, man, do it.
God, Taco Bell, you could at least said, like
¿Dónde es la biblioteca?
This is mine. Not Taco Bell.
¿Dónde es la discoteca, no?
All right, man, take us out, brother. Spanish and español.
So yeah, for non-Spanish speakers, just go to IoT Coffee podcast. No, what?
Yeah. IoT Coffee.
That doesn't sound like Spanish to me.
No. Subscribe, register, etc. And for Spanish, si no entiendes inglés y hablas español, aquí puedes venir también. No hablaremos nunca más en español, pero regístrate en nuestro canal de YouTube y aquí te esperamos.
Gracias. Rico suave, baby. Awesome. Hey, thanks, guys. That was super fun. Travis, once again, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, folks.
Anthony,
I had a great time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.